It seems to be all the rage these days to do a show and tell tutorial style video if you make electronic music, so I thought I'd do one as well. Why not? I have a particular way of playing the Electribe by Korg, which I haven't really seen anyone else do. I just go from one 4-bar loop to the next and I program everything beforehand. I don't tend to jam with them anymore. I just make music on them and play them. So I thought I'd show you how it's done. Anyway, what I'm doing is I'm going to record in a sequence that I programmed on this thing into a Focusrite Scarlett. Can you see it's a bit dark in here? With the air setting turned on, which is like a kind of resonant high shelf boost, sweetens things up a little bit. And recording into Reaper. And the thing I programmed in is very slow and very open and should be quite easy to see what it is that I've done when I do a run through of it, maybe. Anyway, it all started from this one sound, which was a sync sine. When you twist the oscillator, it finds harmonics within it. It's like two sines playing at once, basically. I put distortion on it and a little bit of LFO, and it just sounds quite of fat and chunky, and it's just one note. And then I play a game with it, where I try to find out what comes next. I'll play in 4 bars, and then I need to imagine what comes in the next 4 bars after it. So I'll go into the next 4 bars, and anyway, I'll show you. I'll do a playthrough of it. In fact, I might as well show you what it looks like when I play it. Get to see my old mug here. Hello. Anyway, here we go. Can you see this? Yeah. This is the next 4 bars where I've changed the sounds. I'll show you afterwards. I'll just play it. Anyway, I'll just turn the camera light on. Should be able to see a little bit better what it is I'm doing. Anyway, so what you just heard was a simple 4-bar loop expressed in numerous different ways every 4 bars, right? So started with this grungy old sync sign thing that I'd added distortion to and a little saw down LFO. So it just goes blah, 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 blah. Yeah, and so I recorded in very simple and added some spooky textures, the flute noise. And I had this looping around and around and around. Didn't really quite know what to do with it, but it was obviously just a certain sound. So I copied it onto the next 4 bars, which is here, and I changed it from sync sine into sync saw, which gave it a different kind of harmonic quality, kept the weird textures, added more textures, which was a gamelan wave. Oh yeah, and also programmed in some little drum fills which would lead me on to the next 4 bars. I find that gamelan wave sound as actually, when you mix it low, it has a kind of weird spacey texture to stuff. I quite like it. So I recorded it in. There it goes. And I automated it so it fades in, basically. And this is the next. And yeah, this is the next 4 bars after that. So I would have copied that previous 4 bars to this one and made a little piddly beat to go underneath it, like. And I recorded it in, and I chose, something quite piddly sounding, because it's an intro, right? You don't want to give away all your meat and potatoes in the intro. You'd create a little light salad to start with. In the drum section of this machine, there's these drum shots called vinyl hi-hat, vinyl kick, vinyl snare. And they sound like they've been recorded to acetate or something. Like the top end's really crunchy. And so I recorded in the beat. And that's what it was. Oh yeah, and I added a load of swing to it as well. 20% swing. Otherwise it sounded a bit robotic. It sounded a bit more natural like that. In fact, the way I tried to work is I tried to make this thing sound like it was being played by an actual human, not an AI or I don't know, a non-human. Anyway, so I had this 4 bars intro thing rattling around. I copied it to the next 4 bars, knowing that I'd all be on my 16th. And after that, something's got to give, right? So the next 4 bars I did was leading up to, where everything kind of happens. So I changed the drums and changed the tone. And I don't know, I programmed it in such a way that it would lead into something. It sounded like this anyway. Yeah. So that's what that was. That was kind of like a little intro fill. And I chose a load of sounds to make it sound as if something was going to happen afterwards. So I dug out the old air raid siren noise. So it's like kind of incoming, something's coming. And I put in some more textures, sounds. There's this little, and I ended up using that in other parts of the track as well. So basically what you're doing is you're kind of setting yourself up for a palette of sounds that you will use later on as the track progresses in your intro. Anyway, The next 4 bars after this will be the kind of the meat and potatoes, where you give away some tricks. You make things hit. So there's, the impact bit happens. The first impact bit happens anyway, and I needed to select some pretty loud and heavy sounds and give it some sub to make the speaker cones flap. And so I chose Breaks EDM kick, which I pitched down quite far, actually, almost half an octave, over half an octave actually, and gated the hell out of it, because if there's too much tail on it, it will just chew up the low band. So I gate the hell out of it, so you can actually put a sub with it, and the sub won't get all chewed up. The snare is pretty much the biggest sounding snare on this thing. It's a 909 that was fed through a distressor to give it this kind of exaggerated knee shape, which really cuts through a mix. Kind of the transient of it is actually quite long and cuts through everything else. The lead sound, I panned hard left. The previous sound that I had in, that thing. This kind of that sync sound. I panned it hard left. I copied it and panned it hard left and hard right, giving it some spatial. So this is the lead. Hard right, pan, and then hard left. And then the sub in the middle. There we go. Well, yeah, I'll unmute everything. Well, yeah, so it's kind of, this is the main impact bit when everything kind of kicks off. It's obviously a crash somewhere. What is it? Yeah, I gave that a bit of a attack because I didn't want that. Yeah, if I had no attack, it would interfere with the kick drum at the beginning. So I gave it a bit of an attack like that. And that's kind of, everything's kicking in now. There's the sub, there's the lead, panned hard left and right. There's big fat kick, big fat snare, nice crunchy hi-hat. And I pitched up the lead sound. I started with a quarter of an octave because I didn't like the way it dropped. I didn't like it dropping on the lowest possible note. I really like it in tracks when it starts high and then goes lower and then goes higher. I don't know. It just feels like there's more movement in it. Anyway, that's what I did. So I pitched it up half an octave. And then this entire 4-bar thing I copied to the next 4 bars and then just started changing stuff. I pitched it back down again. I pitched it down half, so a quarter of an octave from where it was. Oh, and I added that sound that I used in the intro. Yeah, and gave a little feel. I don't know if you can see kind of how it is that I'm working. I'm always trying to imagine what comes next. Like, what is the next 4 bars going to be? And you just have to use your musical intuition to do it, really. So the next 4 bars after this, it's kind of the same, but I added a riff. I added a kind of a little acidy riff to go over the top of it, which is this thing. And this is it's called Cardboard. And it's like an old... nasty lead sound from the 2000 era of drum and bass. It's like the kind of thing Simon Bassline Smith would have used back, 20 odd years ago. Oop, hold on. Yeah, it's a really nice patch. I absolutely love this patch and use it all the time. And I programmed in a kind of an acid riff with it this time. Because I don't know, it has that sort of tone to it. And when I programmed it in, I gave it a load of automation as I went. So, well, I'll just mute it. I'll solo it. It's a quick way of doing that, by the way. So yeah, I mean, that's the sound, that's the tone, that's the riff that I got. And in order to get the movement in, I automated it. So yeah, you press record and then you twist it around. And the Electribe remembers your movements. Like that, basically. And yeah, that was my little acid riff that I put in. Simplicity is the order of the day when it comes to things like that. This is like this sort of track is one of those. There's not really that much going in. The complexity is done in the layers and the subtle switching between bars. You know, the little fills, the little blink and you'll miss it sort of fills. That's where the detail is. The actual track itself is very simple. So. It's probably worth showing how I do these little fills. It's mostly automation and using the effects. So the little fill I did here was just a standard crappy old 808 sound, which I just and added a little roller 32. It's a delay, so it allows you to kind of get little rolly shuffles into your drum hits, basically. There's not much more to say about this particular 4-bar pattern, but just bear in mind that I'm changing the tone of the lead sound in each 4 bars. So the previous one was sync square, the next one is sync saw. It's just to give a variety as things move along, a tonal variety, just to stop things sounding too loopy. Anyway, the next 4 bars, I needed to have even more impact after that little cheeky acid line. So I dug out the siren sound again, that air raid siren, and just let it scream over the whole track. Oh yeah, and also I added some overheads somewhere. Where the hell are they? That's it, that was it. So yeah, so you've got this inbuilt drum loop on the Electribe, which is this kind of nasty old crusty funk break with lots of ride cymbals in it. And I filtered it so only the ride cymbals there. So I'll turn the filter off. In fact, I added a kind of, yes, obviously it's going to the reverb, but I put this kind of, it's called sustainer, but it's really just a hard limiter. I'll take it off. Filter back on. Yeah, so what I'm doing is I'm isolating the kind of the top end of that very natural funk break and putting it over the top of everything to make it just sound kind of splashy and hairy and like live and like it's popping. And I added this air raid siren to scream over the top of everything, just to make it sound just hectic. I don't know. So. And for the 4 bars after that, I took the siren sound and put it through the LFO, square LFO level as in like volume. It's a volume LFO, so it just turns the volume down and gives this kind of slicing effect as you go on. So it's that. And I automated in different rates as things go on, so... And yeah, as the track went, I twisted the rate in order to kind of make it groove along with the track underneath. I'll just play it. Hold on. Yeah, and so that got me, I would say, a quarter of the way through the track before I needed to really think about what else was going to happen. And I didn't think particularly hard. I just I went back to the acid line for the next 4 bars. I copied the acid line over, but completely threw out all of the drums, and I layered the acid line with the sub, and took out the lead sound that I started with, layered the acid line with the sub, and this is what happened. Yeah, well, I mean, the acid line I took from the other one, and I copied it hard left and hard right, just to give it more presence of its own. And I made these little fills with different sounds, just sounds that are on the Electribe, and yeah, some of them panned hard left and hard right as well. Fed into the reverb, distortion effect on them. By the way, I'm aware that I'm doing a really terrible job of showing you because I'm just using a phone. It's terrible. But I'm just trying to show you kind of what I do. And yeah, the drums I switched out for more natural sounding breaksy kind of drums. I chose the Amen snare, for example, and I put it in the reverb. And yeah, I programmed in this little kind of drum loop. And I made it sound natural again by using the little funk breaks that this thing comes loaded with. This is one of them, and I high pass them as well, just so they fit with everything else. I'll let that go. So this one's actually really nice. Was it called Samba 113? It's just a loop of some samba percussion, shakers and stuff. And it sounds really nice when you high pass it. There's also this one, which is called Drum and Bass 98, which is a kind of rattly funk break. And absolutely no idea where it's from, incidentally. And that sounds also really nice when it's high pass. It's got a really nice organic kind of shuffle in it. It makes things sound really natural. So anyway, I had this 4-bar kind of, the acid line. I needed to, these things just end up writing themselves, basically. I copied this to the next 4 bars, pitched it down again. So this is the next 4. I mean, it's quite important to let you know that every time I change bars, I try to change the values of everything I do. So the tone of the snare will be slightly different. The kick drum will be slightly different. Maybe even a completely different kick drum altogether, but pitched to sound like the previous one. The lead sound is different from the previous one. It sounds very similar. It's not, though. This one is a unison square, and this one is the cardboard one again. Anyway, that's the theory of it all, is to always imagine what's coming next, copy what you've done onto the next 4 bars, and to start changing stuff in such a way that it fits with the one before, but always feels like it's going somewhere. And once it's naturally run out of musical juice in your head, you can then switch to something completely different, like a breakdown. Yeah. Here we go. I'll try and let you know how I will actually set up a mix. Like the kick drum, I will nominally set to not all the way up, basically, kind of 3/4 of the way up, and I will add low EQ to it, and I'll crank that all the way up. And I'll do that the same with the sub as well. I won't turn that all the way up. I'll have it at around 80 or 90 or thereabouts, and I'll add full low EQ onto that as well. And I'll almost always use the sine, almost always. It seems to generate the most pressure. Sometimes I'll switch to a PCM kind of sub that's got more tone in it. It's whatever works, basically. But you know what? And I'm not even sure if this is the right way to do it either. I just add full low band EQ to the kick and the sub every time. I get the feeling that probably isn't the best way to do it. I think that probably the best way to do it is actually to just find the right level. But I just find it helps me to get the right level. If I can max out the bass on the stuff where bass needs to happen, I can kind of use that as an anchor for the whole track and mix around that. I don't know if it's the right way to do it. I don't know what Bobcats would have to say about it. Who knows? But and most of the time I mix into a limiter anyway, and that takes care of a lot of the problems with my mix downs, which are many. But I do know how to work a sound system though, and I find that doing this, adding kind of the maximum. I'm making a video, Kit. Marek? Yeah, all right.